Hello everyone, welcome back to Witch in the Woods, and I'm wearing my finest today, for a bunch of reasons, actually. Oh, yep, and we have a pet, meet cat, entity.cat.name. Haven't given it a name, it's gonna get one later, I swear. But I've made quite a few bits of progress with the decor around here, so this level is looking nice. I've got the kind of like the intermittently bulking out sky blocks around, which might be doing a number on my frames, I'm not sure. But I think like over here, yeah, the map like kind of like blends in quite a bit better now, especially with the textures. Looks really nice. Ceiling getting messed up, flooring getting messed up, and it just goes downhill from there. So down here the skyblocks have sort of inverted, so that now they're intermittently functioning rather than not functioning. And things are just getting very much more into the outer fringes, which is good because then we come right down here, and more or less it's virtually unrecognizable. So I think that's turned out pretty well. I like it. It looks good. It's a little bit cluttered around here, but unless I want to find something that I can replace the end stone with, and not really have much option on that one. But that's by and large the lot of it. So, clipboard. Familiar binding is our first thing. So let's see, what do we need to bind a familiar? Let's see, rite of binding, binds the waystone, bind a tamed owl, toad, or cat as a familiar, diamond with a magic, odor of purity, tear of the gods, and demonic blood. All in all, fairly cheap, honestly. So let's get that going, because that is the most expensive thing on our list. Was diamond vapor on that list? Nope, but demonic blood was. Which I believe we have some spare. Yeah, we do. Have a little bit. We also have another demon heart. Odor, 300 of those, yep. Whiff of magic, you get that from the rowan saplings. And tear of the goddess, which don't get raw. I think you have to manufacture that, like in the distillery. Yes, you do, from breath of the goddess, of course. Breath to tear, yeah. So you take the breath of the goddess and you add lapis, and it becomes a tear. Evidently the goddess hates lapis. Sorry, Martin. Right, just chunk these in. Now, the hardest part about getting a familiar is entirely down to the fact that it is extremely expensive on your altar. Altar power 8,000. That's one of the largest, like, volumes that you need. So consequently, trouble of getting a cat aside in multiplayer because their AI bugs out. You really have to spend a lot of time getting the power. So fortunately, we have that much now. So let's see, who do we get this time? Sabbath. Hello, Sabbath. Ooh, that is a nice name. That is a wonderful name, Sabbath the cat. I almost want to call you Putters or something. But now we'll stick with Sabbath. Sabbath is an awesome name. Now we don't really have much need of Sabbath right now, so I think I can just dismiss him. There we go. We can summon him back whenever we need him later. So, familiar binding means that I can now go talk to the Coven Witches, so I can go get a Coven, so a Seer Stone will be necessary in the future. But we're mostly working on Necromancy for the time being. And I mostly just want to get that out of the way, because, you know, every evil witch needs a pet. So, we need a Necromantic Stone to get really into Necromancy. To get a Necromantic Stone, we kind of need Spectral Dust. Now, there's 2 or 3 real ways that you can get the Spectral Dust. Let's see. Infuse the grave? No. Rite of Necromancy. Okay. So, Spectral Dust is chiefly a drop from, like, an extremely rare drop from undead mobs. If you have an Arfana with looting on it, you can increase the odds of getting it, but by and large, it's extremely unlikely. The other way that you can get it is via villagers. So if I poke into my Safari Net collection, let's see, I don't know which one of these it is, so we'll just have to open both of these and I'll have my Safari Net launcher at the ready. One of these is a Farmgrave villager, I don't recall which. And I didn't have my textures on before, so you're the Farmgrave villager. Okay. Don't need you. Okay. So this despite appearances, is the witchery necromancer. Like, this is the apothecary. So he'll sell me a few things, and originally, I don't know exactly why this trade vanished. Originally, he would have traded me 4 emeralds for a spectral dust, which is why I have 1 of them. Now, I may have to auto-spawn this guy, because he doesn't seem to unlock any new trades whatsoever anymore. So I've just got these 2, so he might be bugged. But yeah, that's like the main way that you can find a more renewable source of spectral dust. And the final way is basically murder. There is a creature, a spectral pig to be precise, that you can pretty reliably kill with an Arfana to get spectral dust. So let's summon our familiar then, a different familiar. So let me see, Rite of Summoning is what we need. Summon a witch, summon a familiar, there we go. Right, so Drop of Luck, Raw Pork Chop, Gold Ingot, Arfana, 7 by 7 and 2000 power, cheap as chips, relatively speaking. So let me see, Drop of Luck we have on crafting. Diamond Vapor was one of those, I believe. Let's just take a look again. Nope, Gold Ingot, which we also actually have on crafting, just to be clear. Gold, Arfana, and Raw Pork Chop. Raw... Do I actually have Raw Pork Chop, or do I have... Yeah, I do. Good. And... there was something else. Why is my memory so bad? Arfana, right. You do get the Arfana back, so it's not that big of a deal. Doop. 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 And I'll just grab this one. Which is my unenchanted one. But anyways, is this charged up again? Yes, it has, perfectly. Okay, so this summons us a spectral pig, the main use of which is to... the main use of which is to, like, actually... Whoop, sit, piggy. Is to use as, like, a means of getting ores, because if you feed him a diamond, he'll, like, sniff about, and he'll find a spot that's directly above some diamond ore. Can you actually get back into the circle, Mr. Spectral Pig? Thank you. So, being spectral, he is technically undead, so if I murder him with my Arfana here, he will, after a fashion, eventually drop spectral dust. Now, that is a fairly expensive way of going about it. Even with looting 2 here, I only got the 1. And it cost me Diamond Vapor, Drop of Luck, Gold Ingot, and that kind of thing to actually summon him. So you can't really do that on auto, but it's a good way of getting it, just like in a pinch. So that gets us through the spectral dust. So you've got rare drop from undead mobs. You've got check out the apothecary villager. They're the guys who usually are found in the big places with apothecary above the doors, as well as like a little desk with a cauldron with a chest in the back. And then you've got killing spectral familiars over and over. But I'm probably going to try and find a decent apothecary villager. Okay. So, now we need spectral dust, got. Iron sword, can get. Zombie brain, definitely get a lot, because that's actually rotten flesh. Wood ash, easy. Bone, and attuned stones. And that is to make our new necromantic stone. Okay, and ash. Yep. And let's see, bone. 58,000 of those, that's not a problem at all. Zombie brain, non-foundcraft version. Common mistake. Let's see, one of the spectral dust, it was 6 ingredients, wasn't it? Yes, because I need the iron sword. Okay. So, stick. So yeah, I'm mostly just covering sort of stuff that people will probably have seen already this episode. Just because I know there's a lot of new viewers to my channel recently, quite a few actually, on the scale of hundreds, amazingly. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows this much before I start getting really far ahead and doing some, like, even more insane stuff. And I... Yep, you can definitely put a grasper in a grasper. So I wanted to check if I could do that. Okay. So... So, bone, iron sword, attuned stone, didn't say charged, so I didn't have to worry about that, zombie brain or rotten flesh, wood ash, spectral dust, and yeah, this is 8 graspers, so that's definitely 6 objects, and it costs us 2,000 power, and perform at night. Well, no, 1,000 power, perform at night. The actual, like, spectral peak was 2,000. So it's definitely night, as we can see by the sky blocks. And bingo! So the necromantic stone. Now, this isn't really used for too much. It's mostly used for directing undead. So the most obvious example that I can give is, let's see, brew of raising. There we are. So this is a splash potion. You brew it in the kettle, so let me show you the recipe for that. So it is oil of vitriol, wool of bat, bone, mutandis, redstone, and zombie brain / rotten flesh. And that gets you free. If you've got your witch's hat on you and your necromancer's robes, you can get more, but I've just got it auto-crafting right now, so I don't have to worry about that. And what the brew of raising does is you throw it around, it splashes, it destroys a few blocks, usually just natural ones like dirt, and it places undead. Undead, because I'm wearing my necromancer's robes, are, like, non-hostile to me, but they don't really do anything initially. So let's just toss this out. We got ourselves a skeleton, and I can control this skeleton. So if I tell you, over there, this will probably help if I have my particles on a bit more. Alert, this is going to put all of the madness up, because, yeah. So you can see he's distinguished as being summoned by these particle effects. And if I tell you over there, there's a particle effect, a noise, and he'll walk. And if I actually had, like, anybody here to direct him towards, he would actually, like, attack him. And you can use pretty much as many brew of raisings as you like, but you can only control, like, summon skeletons like this. Now, the exception to that is the infused brew of the grave, because that actually allows you to run around and, like, what would be the phrase? Conscript, just like randomly spawned undead. So if I had the infused brew of the grave, then I could come down here and, like, get a whole bunch of guys out of here just to, like, go and terrorize somebody. The infused brew of the grave is not so easy to get. First, we need the infused brew base. Try that. There we go. So the infused brew base, made in the kettle, you need redstone soup, toe of frog, brew of flowing spirit, which you can only make in the dream world, so we'll be visiting there fairly soon, owlet's wing, tongue of dog, and a creeper heart, which is a rare drop from creepers, so that's not easy to come by either. And that makes the infused brew base. You then infuse it in a specific ritual to get the infused brew of soaring or the grave. Now, the brew of the grave lasts for 2 hours, specifically 120 minutes of server time. So if you log off and log back on, it will continue to go. It doesn't, like, just only last for 2 hours, whether you're online or not. You can then control all of the undead that you encounter, pretty much. And what's more, you can sacrifice them to get a bit of a health boost. So that's pretty handy. That makes you a really straight-up necromancer. You can really command your hordes of, like, undead quite happily there. You can also use this to make the alluring skull, which attracts undead that aren't already focused on somebody around to, like, it, so you can use that as a means of potentially rigging an area to have lots of the undead in it. You can also use it as part of making the necromancer robes, which is where I got it. Before golden thread was a necessity, you have to go to the dream world for that. But the thing that we're most interested in is making braziers. These are a fairly recent addition relative to my previous series on Chaosville, so that's going to be our focus for this, because we kind of need this to get to work with making the fetishes. We're using the spectral stones, and all manner of fun stuff, like summoning Death himself. But we're probably not going to get to that just yet, because I need to do a little bit more research on my own. So, on to the homework. And I guess, you know, I'm trying to think, should I tell you about my day before or after that? I guess before. So you probably by now noticed I'm not wearing my onesie, which has become something of a staple. I am in fact wearing basically the first suit I've ever owned. And that is because today was my university graduation. Now, this is going up Saturday. It is the Friday when I'm recording this. Well, actually, no, it's more like 2:30 on the Saturday, but anyways. Yeah, it was my university graduation. I am officially a graduate of university. I have a bachelor's in science of the rather vaguely titled, brain computing, although I'm actually specifically specialized in artificial intelligence in video games, as many of you already know from my Yogscast projects. And what's, like, really interesting about that is that I've never had to really wear a suit. I had to get it custom fit, and I honestly think I pulled it off quite well, though it's not a look that I'm particularly comfortable with. Gee, this video is complicated, doesn't it? Pay no attention to the man on the screen. So, what happens is that I got my gown, I got my cap, which was a mortarboard, which was absolutely absurdly annoying. How on earth do you make these transistor commutes? Jeez, mad science, not very helpful. And I got to go on stage, which was a complete blur, honestly. Like, I remember going in line to go on stage to be given my degree. I remember seeing the people in front of me going up the stairs to the stage, and the stage lights ahead of it, and my comment, I believe, to the guy in front of me was, I can see the stairway to heaven, or maybe hell. And then it's just a blur until I sat back down in my seat. I do not remember what happened. I kept asking, like, my assembled relatives and such for actual, like, photographic evidence of what transpired, because I can't remember. I generally tend to panic quite a lot about social situations, and that is one of the worst ones you could possibly put me in. So I guess my brain just sort of, like, zoned out for that section and just went to autopilot or something. Which is helpful, not something I'd like to rely on, but helpful. So yeah, that was, like, my awards ceremony, and there was a lot of people, there was a lot of clapping, it was very loud, and I was very uncomfortable, but I got through it. I actually have a little fella down here that my grandmother just could not resist buying for me. So, here you go. This is Grady the Grim Graduation Bear. My name, not his. And I'm just loving, like, just animating him, like, move his arms around and just, like, giving him a squeaky voice, and then just describing all the cynical viewpoints of student life. So yeah, it's like, for example, I paid £18,000 to get a degree that took me 3 years and will actually provide me little if any benefit in navigating the current job market. It's like, yeah, he's adorable. He's fantastic. I love him. I'm probably, like, trashing his innocence, but I'm a graduate. He's clearly a graduate too. Our innocence is long gone. But anyways, the homework was Ringu, and basically the entire latter half of my last Chaosville series just completely covers that. So go and rewatch some episodes. The bulk of it is basically what also applies to Ju-on. Apologies, when I originally, like, gave that homework, I stated the title as just Ju-on The Grudge, aka The Grudge. The Grudge is actually the third movie in the series in Japanese. So what you want is Ju-on The Curse, if you didn't go watch that. And then there's The Curse Part 2, then it goes to The Grudge 2, and the White Ghost, the Black Ghosts, and the beginning of the end. But it's a little hard to actually figure that part out unless you go and, like, look up an actual series chronology. And yeah, same applies. So we're doing Necromancy. That's our next couple of episodes, probably at least. So I'm going to give you a really fun one to go. Now, I could just point you towards, like, George Romero movies or something, but I'm going to point you towards something a little bit more obscure. So the homework this time is director Stuart Gordon's H.P. Lovecraft cult classic, released 1985, I believe. Some of you might have guessed this already. Reanimator. Now, this is based on the H.P. Lovecraft's short novella series Herbert West dash Reanimator. It is described as a sci-fi horror comedy. It is fairly gory, and it does deal with, like, body horror and all sorts, so be a little bit aware of that if you're going to check it out. But next time we are dealing probably with the Dream World, because I need to get a bunch of stuff from there. So I shall catch you all next time.